tier 0 item recovery, this whole thing. I saw this the other day land. I read a little bit. I think fucking Xylo posted it, who posts these things just to get on my fucking nerves. I don't know what's going on exactly. I want to get into the details of it. Ollie is like one of the nicest dudes I know. I don't know him personally, but like the content that I watch, he seems like one of the nicest fucking guys in Star Citizen. So I wanted to get his reaction on this first. Then we're going to go to Saudi Mike and we're going to listen to like a breakdown. And I'll get through a little bit of it. It's like a 50-minute video that's unnecessarily long. We'll watch that. And then after that, we've got a piece by Morphologist. So we're going to do an entire breakdown of this item recovery update for 4.1. Not quite sure what to expect. I'm sure I have a lot to say while I watch this. Let's check it out. Let's see what the community thinks.
Actually, I'm going to pause it. So that today, I wasn't going to mention it. I really didn't want to mention it today. But they have, for Star Citizen 4.1, if you die, you respawn with your suit, with your loot, apart from everything in your backpack, for example, that can be looted and that stays on you. But everything else, tier 0 at least, I should say, is going to be respawned, duplicated, and you spawn with it. So you're no longer going to spawn with a hospital gown.
So we're going to have more items for the server to negotiate through, like the duplicate. There'll be a duplication thing that's happening. Is that what I'm? So we're going to have actually more object containers in the game. Isn't that going to be pretty crazy for the server tech? I'm not quite sure.
Which is kind of sad, honestly. And the loot on you, the dead player, is going to be not interactable. So
let's see what Coob says here. Coob is saying the people pissed about this are the looters and murder hobos who like stealing people's stuff after unceremoniously ganking them. The people pissed about this are the looters and murder hobos who like stealing people's stuff after I mean, legitimate pirate gameplay. If I kill somebody, I want to take their stuff. You know, not like if you're not a murder hobo and you're just like PvPing and you kill somebody, you should be able to take the kill. It's your kill. You should be able to take it. Coob is also saying you keep your equipped armor and weapons and gear when you respawn. So you don't come back in a gown in the hospital? Is that?
So CitizenCon is so forward thinking and so far out in the future. Why was this not talked about here? You know? I think the change is going to be weird, and
Coop says, but the whole purpose for this is for us who get our character all set up, run into an elevator and die and lose all our stuff. Now you'll respawn with it. I get that it cuts out a step, but like, goddamn, fix the elevators, right, Coob? You know what I mean? I mean, the fix is actually fixing the elevators and focusing on the stability like they said they were 3 weeks ago when they had a Star Citizen Live with Benoit to focus back on the stability and the core tech issues that I said that they should have. For years. Not this. This is a short fix. It's just going to piss everybody off. This is just going to piss everybody off. And tier 1 and 2 and beyond those things become lootable again. Coop says, takes longer to fix the elevators. They're working on it. No, they should be fixed now. They got to figure this shit out. They got to get it done. There's no more excuses. Elevators got to be fixed. Tier 0 item recovery is a band-aid to make the game more playable. Yeah. I don't know if I agree with that, Cube. I understand where you're coming from, though. I do like the hospital gown, too. I like when you respawn in your hospital gown, right, Oz? Oz says it gets a lot of air in lots of places. What's up, Stunner? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Wookie says he hates to lose his Hello Kitty armor.
The fact that they call it Tier 0 worries me because in the past, Tier 0 has lasted for a long time. So I am I'm on record complaining that I've lost subscriber loot or something I bought in the store through it going through the ground or something weird happening and I never get it back and I have to wait until the next patch so I get it back. I'm on record complaining about that, but I'm not on record saying you should die and then just spawn with whatever you had. Because now you're going to have a scenario where I go to an outpost with one ammo clip, my suit, and a gun, and I can run in, shoot. Oh, I died. It's fine. I come out of my C8R. I don't even have to put my suit back on.
Right.
I don't even have to find a gun. I just go around, I just die, repeat. It just completely negates the gameplay.
I mean, it's no longer Death of a Spaceman. It's kind of Death of a Spaceman. Not really. I didn't die. They're relabeling it. It's a whole new piece. Okay, let's see here. No more Death of a Spaceman. Let's check this out here. We're from Mike.
Breathe. Everyone stop and everyone breathe.
Sometimes it's good to breathe. Sometimes I go along with this whole breathing thing, and I'm very chill, dude. But what are they trying to fix here? What exactly is Cloud Imperium doing is my question.
Okay. Before we get into any of this, I want you to ask yourself and be honest with
Wooksy says Mike being all woosah is disturbing. Yeah, I mean Mike is not your go-to to relax. Like if Mike is trying to relax you, like what the fuck is going on? I'm in some parallel dimension. I'm the one who's fucking salty right now, and he's the one who's totally calm with this. Like what the fuck is actually going on here?
with yourself. What problem is CIG trying to solve with item recovery in Star?
Because everybody's pissed off because they've taken so much time to equip. They get pissed off. They die. They get in their gown and they say, oh, a murder hobo killed me, when not many die that way, but they'll still say it. And then they get their things instantly, instant gratification, fucking Fortnite bullshit. Like what I mean, like this is the craziest part about all this shit is like, okay, if you want to say like Coop said, because of elevators and all the bullshit that comes along with it, we've had to deal with that our entire existence. And now all of a sudden they're going to do this because they think that's going to add the stability. No, that's not going to add the stability. What's going to add the fucking stability is they focus on the core tech like they said they were, and they actually report to us on their progress towards it in terms of the server tech and get us the fucking stability that we've been asking for years. All this other shit is a diversion. All this other shit is a sidestep. Like, remember when I told you guys that I was going to get pissed off in 2025? It's starting to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's starting to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Very calm individual. Listen.
Star Citizen. What problem are they trying to solve? I want you to
okay, Mike's going to tell us what the answer is.
Take a moment, pause the video, think for about 30 seconds, maybe more, and come up with what do you think?
I'll tell you
problem
what I'm upset.
or problem.
I'll tell you what I'm upset about. Coob says 2025 has 12 months and y'all are flipping out at the beginning of month 3. Breathe and touch grass. Yes. I'm telling you, I'm the most calm, patient, OG Star Citizen content creator and player out there. You guys all know it. You guys have all been following me through it, and you guys can get mad at me for this change in attitude, but there is a point. The line has hit where I am now like the 3 weeks ago, there was a video where they told us they were going to focus on the core tech. I know that they're just starting to start the engine up. I know that they're just starting to kind of get out of their Christmas slumber now that we're on March 6th. But I think it is important that we now shift the gears like we said we were going to fucking do, and then focus on the core tech and the stability, not on the additional missions that everybody's having issues with and still buggy as all shit, not with the item recovery system getting an update so people can instantly pop with everything on them, and like there goes Death of a Spaceman. Not these kind of short-sighted kind of fixes that are really just meant to distract us. I'm going to get on them about this stability this year. There's no more time to breathe here, ladies and gentlemen. Most OG Star Citizen is speaking. Do we understand that? Everybody who comes to this channel knows I try to be constructive and as positive as possible. But like at this particular junction, gears need to start to shift and we need to start focusing on stability and core tech. Show me the work. Show me what we're doing and start soon. Transparency on.
Problems doesn't have to be a singular one. What is the problem CIG is trying to solve? In case you aren't aware and you were living under a rock, CIG came out with a post, and the fire starter himself, Xylo, is the one who posted it. I'm kind of convinced at this point that Xylo posts these because he can handle this shit. Got a thicker skin. He's been around for a while. It can deal with the community. Because I think if a dev posted this, they would have gotten absolutely cooked. And I don't think Xylo cares if he gets cooked.
They give it to Xylo.
And CIG basically laid out their plans for item recovery going forward in Star Citizen. So once again, take a moment, stop and think about why they are making these changes. Okay, now let's get into the post. Very quickly, we're gonna be pausing a lot on this.
I don't like that.
As we prepare for the Evocati test phase, our upcoming Alpha 4.1 patch, we would like to introduce the iterative release plan for item recovery, a long-awaited system that gives players more control over reclaiming their valuable gear after death.
I kind of signed up for this to be hardcore as fuck. I'm very rare. I get that I'm the minority here. I'm the type of motherfucker where, like, I'll buy the ship, and if I lose the ship, then I lost the fucking ship because somebody either took it, somebody ganked it, right? And then in the rare instances where we're talking ships, then I got the insurance. I pay the hefty fucking insurance for being a dumb fuck, and then I get my ship back. Always thought to myself, there's a big duplication error right there. Always from the very beginning of time since they had this insurance on ships, and I get it because you're pledging, and I understand why they do what they do with the LTI. I understand you're spending real money, you're pledging to get the game done. You don't want to lose it, especially in this format, in this very buggy format. I understand it, I get it, but it brings about economic type issues where you got duplication. So somebody steals my ship, takes my ship. Say I got myself a cat. Somebody takes my cat, has my cat, ganked it, took it from me, and in any other fucking scenario you can imagine, takes it from me, and then I LTI it, then I get my cat. Now there are two cats, so there's a duplication error right there. And when it comes to economic gameplay, that's an issue with me. I understand it's there. I deal with it. I get it. But when we go down to the items, that's where I draw the line. I am very hardcore, and that's where I draw my line. I don't want duplication of actual items. Ships, maybe I can handle it. Okay, I'll try and get over it because I'm a hardcore economic game player. I'll get over it. I understand people spent money on a pledge. You got your insurance. Go ahead, duplicate the fucking ship. Okay. On the items, even rare ones, even ones that you got with your subscriber flair, if you have that on you, and you die with it legitimately to another player, that player should be able to take it from you, and you should be able to have to deal with it emotionally because you wore it. Hence the consequences, right? There's got to be consequences. I signed up on this project because I wanted the hardcore. I wanted the realism. I wasn't going to cry over shit, and that's why I gravitated to this game. When I start to hear things like this, it takes me aback, and I start to think to myself that they are placating to teenagers, that they are placating to Fortnite players. That's how I feel when I hear this shit. Just off the surface. Now let's keep going.
Key term being valuable, right? Somewhere here, it says that this was one of the most requested gameplay additions. Okay? Somewhere in here, this was one of the most requested. They said that. Now, that's true. This is one of the most requested things. And therefore, CIG said, we have a problem and we need to solve it. Now, why was it one of the most requested things, do you think? I can only speak from my perspective, and my perspective isn't just my opinion. It's also, I spend all day thinking about Star Citizen. I'm looking at the forums. I'm looking at Spectrum. I'm looking at Reddit. I'm looking everywhere, right? Everywhere you've seen, hey, I bought some armor on the website, and I would really like to use it because it looks cool. And this is not a PvP versus PvE problem here that's trying to be solved. This is a
He's right. That is correct. And that's where I get worried, because the more they offer in their store on everything, the more people pay real life money. Those items should be always guaranteed to them, which in itself could lead to duplication errors. Of course, when we get past tier 0, we're talking tier 1 and tier 2, they're not going to be they're going to be less scarce. They're going to be scarce. Okay, so the higher up in the tier, the more scarce they become. I get it. Okay. The more that gets offered on the site where people are buying it with real money, the more that they will always have the right to have that. Which also brings about questions on, if I take it from you and you're wearing something and I take it from you, then I take it from you, then you get it back, then we have duplication issues. And essentially, if you do that over and over again, you could essentially duplicate that to the point where that item is not scarce anymore. In theory.
I walk out of the house I walk out of my hangar in Star Citizen. I can.
But this is only 2 tier 0 though, and not tier 1 and tier 2. So I think we're safe from that.
Get clipped into some collision at an outpost, have to backspace.
Yeah.
And then when I go
good.
back,
yeah.
I won't even be there because my body would have fallen through the planet and is in the core of the planet or something like that. Like that is the situation that we're in right now. This isn't a PvP versus PvE situation at all. It is strictly a game problem, right? We have purchased things and we have items.
It's gotten messy. It's gotten legitimate. It's gotten very messy because Cloud Imperium's gotten very greedy. It should have been just ships. Like, they should have just made it ships, and everything else in the game is found through missions. You get those types of if it's paints and shit, okay. If it's skins and shit, okay. Right? But like in terms of like items, they should have kept it so that like armor sets and things that were like more valuable were found through missions in the game, and then you know that you did the work to get it, and if you wear it and you go out with it, you have a chance to lose it, which is how they should have structured it. But then they got bug issues, elevator issues, all these other fucking issues that makes it difficult, that makes all of this very messy. And so I'm gonna just chalk this up to wearing a fucking alpha, right? I mean, like at the end of the day, Mike is actually right on this. You got to take a step back and you just got to take a fucking breath and realize that it's really messy right now. This is a fucking messy point in time. After the fact, when the game is a playable, stable game, which again, I want them to focus on the core tech, be transparent and focus on the core tech. Fix the elevators, fix the stability, focus on shows dedicating itself to looking at these issues, have devs on directly related to server tech-based issues, talk about it till we're blue in the fucking face, so that every fucking show is focusing on stability, which is where they should be in 2025, considering they want Squadron 42 to come out in 2026. Let's get very real here. This shit right now is what? A distraction. Again, why I get upset. The anger that you're hearing right now is this talk is a distraction. The real gameplay, the real game mechanics will be solidified After what, ladies and gentlemen? Say it with me. Stability. Stability. The game mechanics, the way the game operates, all this that's happening now should be solidified after the stability hits. So again, distraction. I'm over this. Let's listen to Morph's take on this.
So it's finally happening. Star Citizen's planned item recovery system is planned to debut in the next patch, Alpha 4.1, and it may just be far more impactful than many of us expected, especially for those of us frequently engaged in FPS combat gameplay. Beyond its immediate effect on gear persistence and death mechanics, the system's long-term implications could hint at a shift further away from a player-driven economy, a topic I'll dive into a bit later. But for now, let me break down what's going on and why it matters, and then I'll go into what potential good and bad may come of it. And if by the end you'll like the video and you think I deserve it, please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more content like this. So Xylo outlined an iterative release plan for their item recovery system, which is going to be entering in the Evocati test phase relatively soon as Alpha 4.1 approaches. The first phase of this recovery system is going to be Tier 0, and that's going to establish a foundation for the more nuanced and advanced systems that they have planned for future updates. As seen in CitizenCon, the presentation Crafting Your Home and The Star is My Destination, Star Citizen 1.0, the ultimate goal is to make gear management a core gameplay element, ensuring players can protect their more valuable assets while still maintaining risk, piracy, and emergent gameplay opportunities. This first implementation of item recovery will have players respawning with the exact gear that they equipped at the time of their death, including consumables like med pens and ammo and so forth, leaving an exception for anything contained.
No. I don't like that. I'm just going to tell you right now, I just don't like it. Not at all. There's no way you can explain that to me that is going to make me okay with that. I don't think you should just spawn bingo bango with everything that you had on when you died, including your weaponry and everything. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. There's no way you can explain this to me to make me feel good about this. None. Zero.
In a player's backpack or suit inventory. Those items will remain lootable and retrievable, including regular consumables, but major items like armor, weapons, backpacks, utility items, and so on.
Yeah, Mad Style says it's easier coding. It's also lazy. It's also a lazy way to go about it. Makes no sense. There's no consequences in dying. There's no consequences in dying that way, even if it's only Tier 0 shit. There's literally no consequences in dying. Making player actions mean nothing. Like there's nothing to consider because there's no consequences.
So forth will remain visually on the player but will be uninteractable.
Which again, Coob is right. Not when you can die for such stupid reasons. Coob, you're absolutely right on that. You're absolutely right on that. We can both be right on this, Coob. We can both be right on this, bro. Coob. Yeah. We can, like, here's what I gotta say. Coob and I are both right. You know, because where we're at right now in this is exactly like I stated before. The things that are happening with the game mechanics and the spawning like this right now is primarily because of the tech issues that we're having, and it goes right back to stability. So again, this just makes me completely and utterly aware of the fact of how unstable Star Citizen is, and it gets me enraged. You guys understand what I'm saying? Like, this is a glaring smack in my face that the game is not stable yet to handle shit, and that this is why they're doing this right now. And it's really kind of like an audible. It's like a screen pass. You know, like this is all a fucking distraction right now.
In other words, they won't be able to be looted by other players to avoid duplication exploits. Additionally, to ensure a player's active weapon is counted as equipped, it will automatically be holstered upon death so that you get it back. Just as there is now though, if you die in a landing zone, everything that you've got equipped will be automatically saved and be re-equipped to the player, at least for this first tier 0 implementation.
Yeah, and Stunner says, I don't think it's fair to call it lazy without knowing why they are starting by implementing it this way. They're placating themselves to the people that are bitching about the bugs and everything. And instead of saying, hey, deal with it because alpha, they don't want to do that. They want to keep asses in seats. And so they're doing this to placate that portion of the audience, right? It's lazy to me because the real issues come in actual coding with core first principles, the fucking tech issues, the stability that we all want. Like the laziness to me is in the fact that the focus really doesn't need to be like this to have like an easy fix for the people that are bitching about very legitimate issues. These are legitimate bitches. I understand, right? But the way to go about this is to actually fix the fucking instability. And so what this does is it makes things messier and it angers the people that have been with the project for a long time and does not really do good for hardcore OGs like myself and others that can see it for what it is. Yeah, no, it's not that I'm getting enraged by the instability necessarily because that's been with us for a long time. It's that they've gone ahead and done this as a quick fix option play. Do you understand what I'm saying, Aether? Like, I want focus on what it is they told us they were going to focus on 3 weeks ago. This makes me completely aware of the fact that 3 weeks ago they had a show, Star Citizen Live, with Jared and Benoit talking about how we were going to finally get what we wanted. A focus from the team in server tech with Benoit, and we were going to focus on the instability issues. And since then, it has been a complete blackout. That's why I'm upset. What's up, Sanders?
Further down the line, they'll be introducing Tier 1 and Tier 2.
Retro goes, I'm going to go look at the moon with a telescope and wait for this video topic to blow over. No, you're not, internet son. You're going to sit down and stare at the screen. Retro, it reminds me of that Dungeon Soup Baldur's Gate 3 video where he tells his son, he's like, you're going to sit down and you're going to watch.
Which will develop these systems further. Tier 1 will introduce a loadout and ship registration kiosk, requiring players to register their gear.
Okay, Aether's agitating me, but I love him. For instance, Aether's giving me an example. You keep talking about the physics grid. Yes, there is no physics grid. What is happening is that everything in the game has physics. That is completely different to most games. If you drop something in WoW, it has no physics. Grappling with this is what they're doing now. It's the actual communication on object containers in the game and the way that the servers are communicating that to the players who are playing in the vicinity around and the persistence. I get that, Aether. For ease of talking about it with my audience, I'm calling it physics grid. I understand. I get that.
And reclaim it for a fee instead of it being automatically re-equipped after death.
And I love you too.
This also goes for ships, which you'll also be able to register and reclaim upon losing them, including everything that's on the interior of them. To address the duplication issues, looted items will become bricked or disabled if the original owner reclaims them, preventing stolen gear from being used indefinitely. Although stolen items will be able to be resold for credits, so they're still usable in some fashion. Retrieval then is planned to happen at a freight elevator or similar location with an auto-equip function planned for convenience. Big quality of life improvement there. T1 will also remove the ability to backspace out of dangerous situations to retain a player's gear or to exploit the system. With T2, that's the next step, players will gain the ability to restore bricked items at a cost either by spending credits or by using crafting materials. This will create a meaningful risk-reward system for piracy, as stolen items can be sold, dismantled for materials, or restored for personal use. However, restoring an item will remove any cosmetics applied to it. Presumably, Xylo is referring to...
So I love Mad Style. I love it because he reads my fucking brainwaves. He goes, the fact it's tier 0 tells me they never actually work on this function and gave it a decent R&D after all this time. It was slapped together to distract us like someone said. Fucking Mad Style's awesome.
cosmetically unique items purchased through the website or earned through events. All right, now that you're up to speed, I've got a lot of thoughts on this, so let me start off with the obvious. I'm really glad that they're finally dealing with this. I'm glad that backers who paid real money for items or earned them through events now have a way to get them back without losing them for a patch cycle or even more if the backend system gets bugged. The long-term persistent database hasn't always been too persistent. It's also a quality of life improvement to just be able to get your gear back and get back into the action more quickly. I personally feel like
I don't agree with that take in terms of just like this being a permanent thing. Like when you die, showing up in the hospital with your fucking armor and all your weaponry and everything that you had, it's just kind of, it's the realism flies out the window for me. So I don't agree with that particular take from Morph on that. I do agree with the fact if you're paying for these items, yes, you bought them in a store and they should come back to you. There's no way around that. People paid real money. There's no way around it, and it creates some mess. It really does. But I get it.
Star Citizen has a major issue with respecting a player's time. It's very rare to be able to get much done in just an hour of gameplay of Star Citizen, as a lot of the time is just setting up and waiting through the issues. And to be fair to CIG, before I get too critical, the plan that they
I know. Listen, all these issues have been issues that have always bubbled under the surface and things that I've always bitched about. But now we're talking about it because of the recovery system and things that they've implemented right now. So Wooksy's like, DG, it used to be this way for a long, long time before the new inventory system. I think some people in here are failing to realize why I'm actually upset. 3 weeks, like, let me just say this again. This is a distraction. We need to focus on what was talked about on the stream 3 weeks ago with Benoit and Jared. Stability. Okay, we understand why I'm upset. I just want to make sure we get it. I'm seeing, yes, this has been fucking A. I'm getting pissed
outline
off
looks
now.
pretty well reasoned. I'm sure that they sat down and thought about this critically. There are just some small but potentially significant issues that they're going to have to work out before I think they can actually put them in the game. Let's start with that tier 0 implementation.
I'm not going to the next video. I'm not going to the next video yet.
It's going to severely impact players who like FPS gameplay or just enjoy the contested zone gameplay loops introduced in Alpha 4.0.
Of course
and if you're sitting back all smug thinking you never liked that gameplay loop anyway, first of all, that's not very considerate. But second of all, those issues are going to extend out well beyond those who just like PvP.
Absolutely. The PvPers are the demand in an economy. It's a cycle. It's a circle of life. The PvPers are the actual demand. The PvEers are the supply. In a game that's an MMO, those two need to coexist together. And the balance has to be the security systems engaged and in place. Obviously, tier 0.1, 1.0 right now, security. Okay, we get it. I understand it. But like the PvPers need the PvEers and the PvEers need the PvPers. And I can't stand these conversations where people try to polarize PvEers and PvPers and separate them. That is the dumbest fucking way to go about helping either side out, right? Like that is just the dumb. There has to be a common ground, and PvEers and PvPers have to understand the PvEers are creating the supply for the most part, and the PvPers are the demand. Without the PvPers, you do not have the demand. And the PvEers are also demand too, but the PvEers usually are just primarily the supply. I need a polka. I need a polka. Banana rage. I need a. Thank you, Stunner. That's right. I'm doing a show and I'm trying to have fun. Thank you, Stunner, for reminding me. Thank you. Look at that, man. I'm going nuclear here. I'm going absolutely nuclear here. Fucking A, man. I'm getting so very close. Thank you, Stunner. Thank you, man.
One of the keystone mechanics to a looter shooter loop is the risk reward incentive structure. Take out that keystone and the structure collapses. By making it so that players no longer lose kit. In contested zones, the cost to run the best kit no longer becomes a factor. To get specific here, in Star Citizen's case, that's probably just going to be grenade launchers everywhere. The only reason why you don't see them camping outpost stores right now or in contested zones 24/7 is because they're extremely rare, preventing players from risking them regularly. In fact, it's already happened before with Jumptown, which is exactly the reason why grenade launchers got nerfed in the first place and pretty much removed from the loot pool. But
now stop talking about things getting nerfed, Morph, and don't mention anything about the A2. Let's not talk about bombs, and let's not bring that up, Morph. Let's move it on.
this isn't an issue just because of these launchers. The risk-reward incentive structure of looter shooters creates a gradient of gear that players utilize depending on the mood or skill of the individual, with some choosing lesser gear with a bigger reliance on skill and situational awareness to overcome a player with better kit. This creates an interesting and diverse experience in PvP where you're not only exclusively facing the same set of player-equipped kits that are, the best every.
Okay, yeah, and that will matter only when the stability gets to the point where it matters, right? Am I right? Can I see some ones in chat where we're understanding what I'm talking about? This talk only matters when the stability is inserted. Like your kit, when you actually have like a stable fucking experience. That's the only time this talk actually matters. I mean, let's be real.
Every round. And losing a kit or running out of funds is yet another mechanism of the system that enforces this diversity. As painful as it can be to fall to the bottom of that rung. Escape from Tarkov players, I'm with you on that. It's happened several times. It goes even deeper than that though. Gear attrition is at the core of what incentivizes participation in loops, as players need to re-enter those loops in order to stock up again on those advantageous kits that they had lost in the first place. Without that loss, once best-in-class items are obtained, the incentive to engage is largely eliminated. That engagement spans not just to specific loops either, but potentially the entire game itself. I mean, why log on if you've already got everything you want? You just wait until the next big content release when the new stuff comes out, and then you go back in to get that desirable thing and then stop playing again for another cycle. There's also an emotional element to this that not everyone is going to fully understand if they've not played looter shooters before. Those of you who have though, you get what I'm saying here. The risk of losing things is what sharpens the thrill of success and the shock of loss. You got to have really low lows in order to have really high highs, right? Without it, FPS encounters in the PU might as well just be identical to those in Arena Commander or games like Battlefield. Alright though, you might be saying, but all that's going to be fixed with T1 and T2, right? Well, not exactly. There are a couple issues, but to continue the thread of what I was talking about with Tier 0, the issues lie in the like-for-like return of items in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Let's imagine in this future, in the T1 scenario, that you've already obtained your preferred kit, say a P8 AR and a sweet set of Artemis medium armor, right? Each time you die, you pay that reclaim fee and it's returned to you. In which part of this end state do you need to go out and engage with a loop to reacquire these items? The end result is then just largely the same as Tier 0. But worse,
what gives you the value then of what gives you the value of the item if you can continually just duplicate the motherfuck out of it? See, that's the problem that people don't understand when it comes to like economic gameplay. The value comes in the scarcity. Whether it's tier 1, 2, 3, fucking 0, like, and the reason why it's tier 0 is because it's very easily attainable, and there's a whole shit ton of it. These are conversations that you need to have in terms of the economic design and the economic gameplay.
Yet, this suggests that their plans for crafting might be far more narrow in scope than we originally thought. What reason, after all?
And absolutely agree with you, Mad Style. The pledged items should be exempt from the economy. Absolutely agree with you. That solves the issue. You're on the ball today, Mad Style.
Is there for players to manufacture and compete with other players in manufacturing if there are no real player buyers. Sure, CIG might produce a constant influx of new items to keep players wanting to come back and craft and buy, but that seems like a rather large development burden to have to continually produce more and more stuff every patch cycle to keep people interested. What's left then is that manufactured items are just going to be sold to an NPC kiosk like any other item in the game. Sure, this is a possible outcome, but it just seems very uninteresting to me, and one that doesn't really feel like a loop if there's no connection to players in the end. This is the part, by the way, where I said it seems like they're moving away from a player-run economy. But looking at the even biggest picture possible, it's debatable whether or not, without any major attrition force in the game's economy,
You can't necessarily say this at this point. I wouldn't say it's a move away from the player run economy, because we have no fucking economy yet. You understand? Like, there can be no move away from the player run economy because there literally is no player run economy yet in terms of the design. I'm imagining that we will get to a player run economy or something more than we have right now in terms of the fact of the crafting that we saw at the CitizenCon. Crafting, I'm hoping, will give meaning to economic gameplay. Crafting items give meaning, because you will need the commodities to make those items based upon the blueprint. So important. Like, that is such an important part of the gameplay. Like, the backbone, the economy is the backbone, and that has to be there. And the majority of the economic gameplay should be through the player base. That's what makes it fun and interesting. That's what keeps your industrial base there. That's what keeps people logged in. I can guarantee you that the majority of gamers playing Star Citizen that are going to put the most time into Star Citizen will eventually be the industrial players. They will be sitting there figuring out what materials they need. They will be adding it up. They will be looking at what they need to craft these items. They will be looking at trade routes. They will be looking at what their margins are. They will be looking at all these things. And in the meantime, they're going to be logged in, and they're going to be doing these things an extraordinary amount of hours. So you have to have at least some type of player-run economy to have player retention and to see those numbers and to have people sitting there putting asses in seats playing the game for long extended hours. It's going to be the industrial gamers. You've got to cater to them. So if they do what Morph is suggesting based upon what he's seeing right now, and they go and they make a left turn and they don't cater to the industrial base, that's going to be a big L. That'll be a big L.
Economy outside of insurance costs that any of the loops in the game would even function in the long term very well. Loss of items, after all, creates demand and drives the economy. Looking at smaller issues, what happens when you're using a looted item in Tier 1 or Tier 2 and said item just gets reclaimed midway through the fight? Does that item just suddenly become unusable? Do all of your gear pieces explode off your body if you equipped a looted set of armor? How frustrating would that scenario be, aside from the hilarious look of you being naked in front of an enemy to the person that's shooting you? I mean, it'd be funny to them, but not very funny to you. And how does item wear and tear fit into any of this? So what am I saying here? That they should just scrap the whole thing and find another idea? Not at all. Actually, like I said, they really did seem to think through this fairly well. They just overlooked some pretty considerable problems that can be patched up with some tweaks and balancing. One way to fix the issue of eliminating incentives to participate in loops and to fuel the player crafting economy is to have insurance return near equal cash value instead of an actual item. This is
that I agree with. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, Morph. To give a cash value for those items lost would be a smart way to go about things in game. Now, obviously, when you're talking about store items and pledge items, you just get them back. That's just the way it's got to be. But in terms of like crafted items in game, that's a pretty good way to go about things, because then you're not duplicating anything. And I actually agree with Morph on this one.
Exactly what Eve does, and the effect is that players who get the cash back re-inject that into the economy, buying stuff from
this is a great idea. This is the second time I've said this about watching a Morph video. Last week I said the same thing on the highlight I just released today on the YouTubes, man, where I'm actually finding myself agreeing with them sometimes.
other players to keep the whole thing going. That just leaves, though, the unique and exclusive items purchased with real money on the website to try to solve. It's a tough nut to crack, and I don't blame them for waiting so long to try to address this. Returning only these items would present some serious balance issues, heavily favoring real cash purchases over in-game.
This is the most greeny, outrageous fucking thing I've ever seen Sig do. This is the most greeny. This is the greediest, you know, like when this just started hitting, I couldn't stand it. I wanted to vomit when I saw this type of thing going on the store. I thought to myself, like, wow, this is a whole new level of greed, and it's a bad look. It's a real bad look on Cloud Imperium.
Items, a scenario that I personally don't like. I mean, it seems like straight up pay to win. In this case, there are some possible solutions to try to balance this. A simple timer plus the reclaim fee is one of them, but it might not be the ideal situation. Some other more creative solutions might be to give the player back the exact materials required to craft it so that they could use their unique blueprint to create the item
That's
again.
cool, Stunner. I like that idea too,
A
dude.
voucher might be issued to players through the insurance system that, when awarded, can be used by the holder to convert a like item to the unique lost item. So say, for example, you had a gold P4, you just get a regular P4 and use the voucher and convert it into the gold P4 again. The idea here is that players would have to purchase or acquire the base item first, creating a time and cost investment. In each of these cases, an additional effort on top of just paying cash is needed to balance them against simply just receiving the exact item they lost from a kiosk right away without much consequence.
All right. This is enough about this topic. My brain is going to explode. I think everybody knows where I stand. We need to focus on what's important. What was told to us was going to be the focus 3 weeks ago, and that is stability and all first principles, game design, and everything server tech, and everything that will give us better experiences, period. And I want to start seeing it. Full stop.